Hello and welcome back for another episode of Patriotic Housewife. If you guys have not been following the double murder case homicide coming out of Ohio that happened on December 30th of Monique and Spencer Tepe, it is such a sad case, wild. I mean, we hear about these things all the time, but truly sad case out of Ohio. I am going to give a quick rundown of the case from start until now for those of us who have not been following it on the news. It was a neighborhood not far out of Columbus, Ohio. I think it was like by an hour and a half on December 30th. Spencer and Monique Tepe were found dead in their Weenland Park home after a wellness check was done. The welfare check was requested after Tepe failed to show up for work at Athens Dental Depot, where he worked as a dentist. Athens Dental Depot owner Dr. Mark Velrose called 911 telling dispatchers that he had not shown up for work. He was normally very punctual. If he was going to be late or wasn't going to make it in that day, he definitely would have contacted them, and no one had heard anything. They were extremely worried. So at that point in time, that was probably like 9:03 in the morning when he had called. An officer initially responded at 9:22 to do the wellness check. No one answered. No, so nothing seemed out of the ordinary in, I guess, their eyes. So they left. After that, a few coworkers drove to the home to check on Spencer because, like I said, he was reliable. He would always answer his phone. His wife did not answer her phone. So everyone seemed to be extremely worried because of him being punctual. One friend called the police at 9:57 after hearing children crying inside the house and receiving no answer at the door. A few minutes later, they reported seeing Spencer's body inside the home near the bed. That was according to the 911 call. The friend said, "There is a body inside." Spencer's friend frantically told dispatchers, "Our friend wasn't answering his phone. We just did a wellness check. We just came here and he appears to be dead." There are two small children, ages 1 and 4 years old, that were found alive in the house with no injuries. Spencer was found to have been shot multiple times. Monique was shot once in the chest. Per investigators, officers found no signs of forced entry and there was no weapon found at the scene. There were 9mm shell casings that were found at the scene, but no actual weapon. The police said this is not a case of murder suicide. That was completely ruled out. But obviously, with no weapon, they were really stumped on the case. It was really hard to get that investigation going. On Friday, Rob Misla shared a statement from the family to ABC6 reading, "Our family is devastated by the tragic and senseless loss of Spencer and Monique. They were extraordinary people whose lives were filled with love and joy and deep connection to others. Spencer was a devoted, proud father, a loving partner, and a friend to everyone he met. He was intelligent, warm, and endlessly welcoming. A graduate of the Ohio State University and a member of the American Dental Association, Spencer was fluent in Spanish and deeply committed to serving others. He gave back through big brothers, big sisters, a huge Bengals and Buckeyes fan, and lived life with energy, laughter, and generosity. Monique was a loving, patient, and joyful mother whose warmth defined her. With a background in childhood education, she brought care and intention into everything she did. She was an excellent baker, a thoughtful planner, and someone who found joy in bringing people together. Her kindness made people feel instantly at home. Together, Spencer and Monique shared a beautiful, strong, and deeply happy relationship. They loved to travel, to laugh, and to build a life rooted in love. They were proud parents of two beautiful children and their beloved golden doodle, and they created a home filled with warmth, happiness, and connection. We are broken beyond words. While no outcome can ever undo this loss, our family is committed to seeing this tragedy fully and fairly brought to justice and to honoring Spencer and Monique by protecting the future of the children they love so deeply." Now, at the time, the police had no suspect in custody. There was no persons of interest. They didn't have much information to go off of, like I said, because lack of a weapon. They did have a Nest video that showed a man with like a weird gait walking down the street. Someone did mention that there was a bar in the area that could be somebody walking home from the bar. They weren't sure. There was at one point a weird 911 call that they thought was registered to the house, but it came from a cell phone. So apparently that can happen where it's more of a generalized area, I guess, and it's not a direct landline. So that can happen. And they found out that that had nothing to do with this case. So that was ruled out. Um, at the time, the police just didn't have much information, and it was hard to say if they were going to be able to find someone or not. In my opinion, when all of this was starting to develop and it really wasn't going anywhere, the crime, in my opinion, always seemed to be something that was not random. It was very targeted. It seemed very personal, like it was done in rage, specifically towards Spencer, being that he was shot more than Monique. I also thought it was interesting, and thank goodness the kids were unharmed, but that, in my opinion, shows that there was obviously rage towards the parents. It obviously was not a robbery. There was nothing that was disturbed. There was nothing missing. Nothing had been gone through. So it was just one of those cases that in the beginning stages was extremely odd. You knew that it was meant for Monique and Spencer. And so it was just interesting. I was kind of like, is there going to be like an affair in the background? But then there were a lot of friends that came out and said, no, they had this great marriage. They were super happy. But we all know that what people put on is not always what's going on in the background. Well, yesterday, Michael McKee was arrested in the fatal shootings of Monique Tepe, 39, and Spencer Tepe, 37, after he was linked to a vehicle seen on surveillance footage in Columbus, Ohio, near the neighborhood around the time of the killings, according to a complaint filed in the Franklin County Municipal Court. This is actually Monique's ex-husband. They were married in 2015 and divorced by 2017. Investigators were able to identify a suspect through neighborhood surveillance footage. According to the complaint, detectives then linked the suspect to a vehicle, and that arrived just before they had arrived just before the murders and left shortly after. According to the complaint, detectives later found the vehicle in Rockford, Illinois, and found evidence of McKee being in possession of it after the killings. Also, according to the complaint. So we're just going to go ahead and pull up this little clip that ABC released about them, arresting McKee.
Arrest in the murder of an Ohio dentist, Spencer Tepe, and his wife Monique, after they were found gunned down in their Columbus home just before New Year's Eve. Police now arresting 39-year-old Michael David McKee, Monique's ex-husband, charging him with the gruesome crime. According to a police affidavit, surveillance footage helped investigators identify McKee after they say it showed a car arrived just prior to the homicides and left shortly after. Police say they soon found that car in Rockford, Illinois, over 400 miles away, with evidence linking it back to McKee. Court records obtained by our affiliate WSYX show Monique was married to McKee in 2015, divorcing in 2017, saying they were incompatible. For more than a week, a manhunt for a suspect. Columbus police releasing this surveillance footage of a person of interest seen walking in the alley near the home during the time frame of the murders between 2 and 5 a.m. A concerned friend coming to the home when Spencer Tepe didn't show up for work, spotting the 37-year-old in the bedroom in a pool of blood. Their two young children still inside unharmed.
There's a body. He's laying next to his bed, off of his bed, in this blood.
The Tepe family releasing a statement thanking law enforcement, writing in part, Monique and Spencer remain at the center of our hearts, and we carry forward their love as we surround and protect the two children they leave behind.
And McKee is now facing 2 counts of murder and will make his first appearance in court tomorrow. But still so many questions here about the motive, as Columbus police say they are still actively investigating this case, guys.
Quite a turn in this story, Olivia.
So I was really surprised to find out that she had an ex-husband, that within, so many days of the case, they didn't even bring that up, that they were even looking at anybody. So I kind of figured too, if we weren't hearing anything, it was either really truly lack of evidence, or they were onto something and they did not want to make that known for reasons of someone fleeing. That's kind of typical. But they weren't releasing anything other than that video. And then they also released that 911 call because they were trying to figure out if that was related. It was a very odd 911 call that a woman made, a domestic dispute. It did not sound anything like Monique. Her family come on and said that's definitely not her. So, it was like in my opinion, your family knows your voice. So I kind of figured, okay, that's probably nothing. And then when they found out it wasn't a landline, it was kind of like, okay, cell phones, I think it gives a general area, as I said, and they realized that they could rule that out. Again, super sad case. I can't even imagine the fact that the children were home. Our only hope, I think, at this point is that they don't remember anything, that they were, I don't know, that they stayed asleep. I just hope that 4-year-old doesn't remember anything because it's just horrible and tragic and traumatic for a child. Let's continue to pray for the family, continue to pray for the victims, Monique and Spencer, continue to pray for the children. And I'll keep a close eye on this for updates. I will, of course, watch the any kind of court hearing and go over that and bring the updates to you guys. And we'll be following this through trial as well. I know some people were keeping up with this case. And so it was just something I wanted definitely to cover and continue to follow along as we go through that because it's just such a tragic loss. So we will be doing that. As I said, we're going to be covering more true crime, more trials, stuff like that. I'm a true crime junkie. I think a lot of us are. Love the ID channel. So I will keep you guys updated. Be sure to please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will see you in the next one.